Have you ever poured your heart into someone only to feel emptier than before? You listened, you healed, you comforted, but in return, you faced silence, deflection, sometimes even guilt disguised as gratitude. That sinking realization that your kindness was taken, not appreciated. What if empathy, one of the noblest human strengths, could be turned against you? What if your capacity to feel deeply became the tool that opens the door for manipulation? This video isn't about blaming you. It's about revealing the hidden danger when empathy becomes a cage. Because when your heart is the weapon, it's not just control. It's emotional espionage. And the only way to stop it is to see it. Welcome to The Dark Frame, where we explore the shadows psychology doesn't often shine light on. Today, we dive into one of the most subtle, yet devastating forms of emotional manipulation: empathy hijacking. This is not about toxic villains. It's about people who look caring, who say the right things, who feel like your rescue, because emotional manipulators don't need to scream. They only need to whisper, "I feel you, I understand, you matter to me," and you, filled with trust, respond with open arms and softened guard. But underneath those words lies a strategy. They observe what you respond to. They track your emotional patterns. They use your warmth like currency, asking more while erasing your limits. In this chapter, you'll learn what empathy hijacking really looks like, how your own brain gets rewired by emotional validation, what real-world scenarios reveal this hidden form of control. By the end, you'll no longer confuse manipulation for caring. You'll see the signs and know how to hold your ground. Let's begin. Empathy hijacking is when someone uses your capacity for understanding and emotional resonance, but not for connection. Instead, they use it as a mechanism to draw you in, to disengage your critical thinking, and to make you feel obligated to respond. It's a zero-sum game. The more they get from your empathy, attention, reassurance, forgiveness, the less you have left for yourself. This goes far beyond simple charm or flattery. It's a psychological piracy. Empathy stimulates hormones like oxytocin and dopamine, creating a bond and reinforcing emotional intimacy. But manipulators tame this circuit and use it. They mirror your pain, triggering oxytocin. They share vulnerabilities, real or feigned, so you perceive them as safe. Then they escalate, moving from rapport to requests, asks, and demands. Your brain becomes hooked on the connection. You end up not caring for why you're caring, you just keep caring. Lila met Sam during a mutual support group. He told her about his darkest moments, a failed marriage, childhood abandonment. Her heart opened. She responded with reassurance. She offered to listen anytime. Then the asks began. Could she check in once a day? Could she visit him whenever he needed closing? Could she drive him to appointments, help pay bills? At first, it felt natural, but soon she realized he only reached out when he was down. And when she was struggling, his empathy disappeared. She felt used, hollow, oblivious to her own needs. That's empathy hijacking, quiet, wrapped in trust, but one-sided. Mirror effect. We feel bonded to those who mirror our emotions. Implicit bias. We trust those who reveal vulnerability. They appear safe. Sunk cost. The more emotional effort we make, the harder it is to detach. It doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like connection. But connection isn't empowering when it's conditional. You always empathize first, but seldom receive empathy back. You feel guilty for pausing, setting boundaries, or saying no. Your energy drains, and yet you find yourself protecting their feelings. You isolate, emotionally or physically, from others to support their needs. Start asking, who benefits most from my emotional energy? Track your self-talk. This is for them versus what do I need? Set time boundaries. I can meet you tomorrow, not today. Reconnect with a trusted friend or therapist to recalibrate emotional flow. Your empathy isn't the problem. How you share it without depleting yourself, that's what restores balance. Empathy hijacking isn't weakness. It's a vulnerability, one that needs boundaries and awareness. By understanding its mechanics, you can choose compassion without surrendering yourself. If it's manipulation, why does it feel so real? Why does your body miss them even after your mind sees the damage? The answer lies in a loop of validation, scarcity, and biochemical reward. We call it the validation loop. It's not just psychological, it's neurological. Every time someone validates your emotion, your brain responds chemically. Dopamine fires when you receive attention, approval, even a caring text. Oxytocin rises when you feel emotionally seen or comforted. Cortisol spikes when that connection is interrupted or withdrawn. Now combine these into a cycle: validation, withdrawal, anxiety, revalidation. The highs and lows wire your brain into craving the manipulator like a substance. And that craving isn't love. It's the chemical rhythm of emotional captivity. Manipulators don't overwhelm you with kindness. They ration. That's the trick. Too much warmth equals you relax. Just enough equals you chase. By giving sporadic emotional rewards, I care, you matter, you're amazing, they create anticipation. You start to work for approval. That's when you lose autonomy. You're no longer engaging freely. You're performing. Aaron only praised Jade when she was emotionally exhausted. If she vented for too long, he withdrew. Cold eyes, quiet mouth. But when she apologized, when she said, "I'm sorry for dumping this on you," he smiled, gave her comfort, said she was brave. She didn't realize she was being conditioned to self-suppress, to adjust her sadness, package her pain, shrink her needs into something he could tolerate. That wasn't empathy. That was emotional control masked as kindness. Manipulators don't just offer reassurance. They weaponize it. Here's how. They notice when you're vulnerable, tired, unsure, emotionally raw. They offer warmth, a hug, a compliment, a "you're not crazy" moment. Then they shift, redirect the focus to their needs, their hurt, their pain. You feel grateful, even as the conversation becomes about them again. This breeds emotional debt. You feel you owe them space, even when you're the one bleeding. Not all manipulation is what's said. Often it's what's left unsaid. They never validate your anger, only your sadness. They never apologize for their harm, only comfort your confusion. They never acknowledge patterns, only isolated events. Over time, you doubt your memory. You edit your story. You start to think, maybe I am the unstable one. That's not confusion. That's gaslighting in slow motion. Let's map it. 1. Trigger. You express discomfort. 2. Withdrawal. They detach or seem cold. 3. Guilt. You worry you were too much. 4. Submission. You shrink or apologize. 5. Reward. They comfort you again, call you brave, offer intimacy. Result? You're trained to abandon your own emotions to protect the relationship, not out of fear, out of love. That's the trap. This loop doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're neurologically responsive to connection. Smart, self-aware people fall into it because they reflect, because they question themselves, because they're wired for responsibility. The manipulator doesn't use force. They use self-doubt. You don't need to stop caring. You need to interrupt the rhythm. Delay your emotional response. Write down what's not being said. Ask, do I feel clearer after this conversation or more confused? Keep a pattern log. Not feelings, but sequences. What led to what? Emotional truth lives in patterns, not in apologies. The validation loop is not about kindness. It's about emotional addiction engineered through reward and withdrawal. To escape it, you don't need more love. You need pattern recognition and the strength to slow the cycle before it speeds up. Not every "I care" is care. Not every "I see you" is sight. Sometimes the most dangerous praise comes from the most invisible prison. They hurt you. You bring it up, calmly, gently, carefully. But suddenly, you're the one apologizing. Somehow, your pain has become their wound. That moment isn't random. It's a switch, a guilt switch. And it's how they keep control, without ever raising their voice. Guilt is sticky. It pulls at memory and identity. If you're someone who reflects deeply, cares about fairness, hates being the bad guy, then guilt isn't just a feeling. It's a command. It tells you to repair, to retreat, to soften your tone, even when you were already soft. The guilt switch works like this. That really hurt me. Them, so now I'm just a monster, huh? No, I didn't say that. Them, you think I meant to hurt you? God, do you know how hard I try? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. There it is. Pain, guilt, repair. And just like that, your boundary becomes their burden. Layla tried to set a boundary. She told her partner, "When you disappear without texting, I panic." His reply? "I guess I'm just a terrible boyfriend then." Layla froze. She reassured him. No, I know you're trying, She never got back to the original issue. He never had to take accountability. He just had to take offense. You're upset? Perfect. That means I'm still inside your emotional center. Now, if I act hurt, just enough, you'll shift from accusing to comforting. And I win, because your guilt resets the scoreboard. Even if I started the fire, the more emotionally intelligent you are, the more guilt works on you. You see nuance. You see their pain behind their behavior. You doubt your judgment. Maybe I was too intense. Maybe they're acting this way because I triggered something. Maybe I am being unfair. That's not weakness. That's insight. But manipulators twist your insight into silence. You say, "That hurt me." They hear, "You're a bad person." Or at least they say they do. Because if they can make it about character, not behavior, you'll feel cruel for even bringing it up. Then you'll back off. Guilt wins. And they never have to grow. Guilt trap number 1. Look what you've done to me. Used when you express pain. They double it, echo it, turn it back. Guilt trap number 2. You never see my side. Used when you express a need. They reframe it as selfishness. Result? You go quiet. You lower your expectations. You convince yourself you're too much, because they never have to be enough. There's a difference between someone feeling guilty because they've done harm, someone making you feel guilty for noticing harm. Healthy guilt is self-generated. Manipulated guilt is imposed, with expressions, silences, reactions designed to shift emotional labor onto you. Ask yourself, after I express my needs, do I end up comforting them? Do they misinterpret my feelings as attacks on their character? Do I feel like the bad guy every time I ask for change? If yes, it's not conflict. It's a covert negotiation of emotional power. To break the guilt switch, name it. I notice when I bring up hurt, the focus shifts to your pain. Pause reassurance. Let them sit with discomfort instead of rushing to soothe. Reaffirm your intent. I'm naming a pattern. I'm not attacking you. Stay on topic. Don't chase their detour. If they truly care, they'll meet you back at the point of pain. If they don't, they'll resent your clarity. They don't fear your anger. They fear your precision. They fear when you say, "I'm not yelling. I'm not blaming. I'm just telling you the impact. And I'm not backing down." That's when the guilt switch shorts out. The guilt switch is how manipulators shift emotional gravity. You speak your truth, they act wounded. You set a limit, they play victim. And if you're wired for empathy, you'll fold. Not because you're weak, but because you're wired to care. That's why the answer isn't less feeling. It's more clarity. When you see the switch, you stop flipping it, and you reclaim the emotional center that was always yours. You finally walked away. No more control. No more guilt. No more manipulation. But now it's quiet. Too quiet, and something inside whispers, if I let anyone in again, I'll lose myself. This fear is real. But it's not the end. It's the first symptom of emotional detox. There's a myth in healing culture that to be strong, you must be cold, untouchable, unbothered. But that's not freedom. That's armor. And while armor protects, you can't touch or be touched through it. After emotional manipulation, your nervous system rewires. You scan for red flags. You flinch at emotional closeness. You confuse vulnerability with risk. This is survival, not clarity. You start saying things like, I don't need anyone. Love is weakness. I'm better alone. But that's not healing. That's emotional scar tissue. Jonah escaped a 5-year emotional entanglement. His ex used guilt, silence, and praise as levers. Now, every time someone texts him, I miss you, he panics. He goes. He disappears. He rationalizes. They're probably manipulating me too. He thinks he's being smart, but he's actually being haunted by emotional memory, not truth. You don't fear connection. You fear repetition. You fear losing yourself again. You fear bending, softening, shrinking. So instead, you harden. But frozen isn't healed. It's just paused. Armor says, stay away. Boundaries say, come close, carefully. Armor silences your needs. Boundaries name them. Armor expects betrayal. Boundaries prepare for it, but stay open. Healing is not about being unbreakable. It's about being honest, visible, and still safe. It's not a glow-up. It's not posting never again quotes and blocking everyone. It looks like missing someone and still not going back. Letting a good person love you slowly. Saying, this scares me without shame. Noticing your own patterns and choosing differently. That's what growth is. Not loud. Not cold. But conscious. You are not wrong for being soft. You are not weak for being giving. They misused your tenderness. That's on them. But don't let that theft become your identity. Don't let their shadow define your light. You can be open and discerning. You can care deeply and protect yourself. You don't have to become who hurt you to stop them from doing it again. Here's the key. Don't trust people first. Trust your pattern radar. Don't give access to your heart. Give access to your clarity. Watch what they do when you set a limit. That's who they are. Real safety isn't in isolation. It's in observation. Your body is wired for connection, even after trauma. Especially after. So when your stomach flips at a text, when your breath shortens during a vulnerable talk, when your heart says run, when someone says, I see you, ask, is this fear or is this familiarity? Often it's not danger. It's a reflex to an old wound. Kira stayed single for 3 years after an emotionally manipulative relationship. Then she met someone gentle. Too gentle. It scared her. She almost left him because he was too calm. Her therapist said, you've confused intensity with intimacy and silence with safety. Kira stayed. Now she says, I'm still scared sometimes, but I don't run. I speak. And this time I'm heard. You didn't survive to shut down. You didn't escape a cage to build another. You are allowed to rebuild your trust system, brick by brick, with yourself first. That maybe someone else. Healing from manipulation isn't about becoming untouchable. It's about becoming real again. It's about remembering. Soft is not stupid. Open is not weak. Boundaries are not barriers. Saying this scares me is not drama. It's clarity. You don't have to be cold to be strong. You just have to be awake. And you are.